Like all the videos on Saigancat's channel are made possible by fans like you. Totally.
Okay, I think we're free to play now. I think. I hope. And it didn't actually lock up where I thought it was going to. I believe we're going to be given a chance eventually. Oh, I'm sorry, Edge is talking. So, this is our main mode of transportation. The main way that we are going to be exploring is by flying around on the dragon. We can still inspect things while we're flying on the dragon. I can't remember how to raise my altitude, lower my altitude. Oh, B makes us go up and down. Raises and lowers our altitude. B makes us go. There we go. There we go. It's all coming back to me now. We can see things on the radar, which is nice. Access. It's how we interact with the world around us. Oh, where are you? Got a field map. There we go. Can't actually see the map. There is a map completion rating at the end of the game, too. Have I streamed this game before? No, I streamed the first Panzer Dragoon, which is an on-rails shooter not unlike Star Fox. So is the second one, and so is the fourth one. This is the odd one out in this series, and they decided, hey, let's make an RPG. I do want to swing back for any items that we might have missed. There we go. It's not all canyons either. There are large open areas to explore as well. Is that it? Was that the split? That was the split. Alright, let's check for items real quick back here. I totally have to refamiliarize myself with this game. It has been a long time since I played it. So a lot of this is going to be me relearning the game. Is that not a thing? It's not a thing, apparently. You guys are going to be just thrilled with the combat, too. The combat in this is so good. So good, in fact, that they used a lot of the combat in this game for Panzer Dragoon Orda, which went back to the on-rails roots of the series. Orda is actually very easy to get a hold of. It was on the original Xbox, and it is backwards compatible on the Xbox 360, and a copy of the game will run you like $10 for a complete copy. Super easy to get a hold of. Excellent game. The only tragedy with it is that it is a true and direct sequel to Saga. So in order to fully appreciate the story, you need the story of Saga. I believe this is a save point, I want to say? Yes. Okay, should have enough data now. In between play sessions, since the Saturn internal memory battery life is very, very short, I will also be backing this up onto a old Action Replay Plus, which has served me well for well over a decade. Oh, right. B makes me go for it. Okay, so now we can go back to the ruins. I'm sorry if I miss anything in chat. It looks like Twitch chat is having issues tonight and keeps disconnecting. All right. So, you got the dragon back there. He just kind of hangs out whenever we're on foot. We can go back to him whenever we please. Got some more stellarium. I think this is stuff for upgrading the weapon. Possibly.
Taicho! 生きてたのか。よく無事で。隊長、早く行け。奴らは谷に沿って北へ向かってる。あの男、クレイメンたちを追え、本物の帝国軍が来る前に。クレイメン？誰なんです、そいつは。それに、なんで追わなきゃならないんです。帝国の特務部隊、黒い艦隊を率いる男の話を聞いたことがある。おそらくは奴が。ここを見れば帝国は俺たちを疑う。あの発掘物を奪回する以外お前の生き延びる方法はない。胸のポケット。そうだ。隊長、隊長？隊長？くそ！クレイメンめ！
So, the story thus far... Oh, God, the tutorials. Okay. Well, we don't need this. We don't need this! We'll read through it for you guys. And for me. So, the story thus far. There's an evil empire. We were working for the evil empire on an excavation. The empire then showed up and killed us, and took away a girl that we found in the cave. It turns out that this is a rebel faction within the empire, led by a guy who's just as bad as the empire, named Crayman. So there are two bad forces in the game. There's the empire and the rebellion against the empire, and we're kind of alone against that. About the gauge. Tutorials. During battle, your attacks are dependent on this gauge. This gauge charges up on its own. You can charge up to 3 gauges at one time. Anytime more than one gauge is charged, you can open the battle menu. Certain actions require more than one gauge to be charged. So, if you'll recall Final Fantasy XIII, totally stole it from this. Homing laser. The dragon's normal attack requires only one gauge to fire. Oh, there it is. Edge's gun. Its normal attack also requires only one gauge to fire, best used on individual enemies. So greater damage than the homing laser, but all done to one target. Use item requires one full gauge. To use the item, open the battle menu, which by the way is C. Select items, use D-pad to highlight the item, and then press C again. So we can use an elixir to heal. Berserk Techniques. Using Berserk Techniques, the dragon's special attacks varies according to the type, which is 1 to 3 gauges. These are our fancy spells. So we have Holy Sphere. That's all that's really available to us right now. Action may be taken at any time as long as the required gauges are charged. Unused portions of the gauge are not lost. You may perform an action as soon as the required gauges are charged, or wait and deliver a series of actions. And that's it. That is the basic combat tutorial. There's still many, many more tutorials. One of the big things here is, positioning. Here it is. We're getting into it now. I know tutorials aren't terribly exciting, but as there's so little about this game on the YouTubes, I'm going to go through all of them, I think. Although not displayed, enemies have gauges as well. Each enemy's gauges charge at a different speed. There they are. Most enemies' actions differ depending on where your dragon is located when the enemy attacks. The battle radar shows where your dragon is located in relation to the enemy. Enemies will always appear in the center. The colors on the battle radar indicate the danger level of your enemy's attack. For example, if your dragon remains in an uncolored area, the enemies will only use weak attacks. To evade danger, your dragon can move to the front, back, left, or right of any enemy. This is called positioning. Positioning can be done by moving left or right in 90-degree turns. Positioning does not drain the gauge, so you may move at any time, but no charging occurs while positioning. A green area means that the enemy can't attack in that direction, therefore this area is a temporary safe zone. A red area means the enemy will deliver heavy damage if it attacks. If you can avoid the red area and stay in the green area, victory will be yours. Something that it's not saying there, though, is oftentimes the red area gives you access to enemy weak points, so sometimes it's a matter of timing. Keep in mind that while positioning, the gauge will not increase, so the more time you spend moving around, the worse your ranking will be. Which they're probably going to talk about now in Positioning 2. An enemy's defensive ability varies according to which direction you are attacking from. Attacking weaker areas will cause more damage. So, firing from the front. This enemy has an average defensive rating from the front. Attack here and it will suffer average damage. No, other right. On the sides, high defense. The defense rating on the sides is high, so attacking here causes little damage. To inflict heavy damage, aim for the enemy's weak spot. This area is marked weak. For those of you who couldn't put that together. There are also enemies that counterattack and or dodge attacks from certain directions, or even enemies vulnerable from only one direction. As you can see, positioning is vital to dodging attacks and fighting effectively. Mastering this technique is key to ensuring your survival. Is this Star Fox with RPG elements? Yes. Yes, it is. This is what Star Fox Adventures could have been. Ugh, there's so much here, but we're going to go through all of it. We are documenting Panzer Dragoon Saga. We're not just Let's Playing it. There it is, homing lasers. So we can't target everything, it only targets 4 things. The laser will only target the closest enemies, so although lasers can inflict more damage than Edge's gun, you cannot aim at a distant enemy. Lasers prove ineffective, however, against optic resistance enemies. If you aim at optic resistance enemies, anti-laser will be displayed. However, let's go ahead and use the gun. It's ineffective against physically resistant enemies. If you aim at these types of enemies, anti-shot will be displayed. And here we have Berserk again. The Dragon's special attack. An enemy's defensive rating is nullified by this type of attack. It proves to be most effective against enemies with high defensive ratings, large groups of weaker foes. Some techniques will heal your dragon. Each Berserk technique consumes a given amount of Berserk points, which are BP. You can see those in the bottom left right next to our HP gauge. If you do not have the required BP, you cannot use the technique. See, so Laser Storm here requires 30 BP, which we do not have. We only have 28. But we can use Holy Sphere. And that's the only thing that we have. Attacks vary according to the type. Attack deadly to nearby enemies. Spiritual affects all enemies. Agility swarms small groups, and defense heals and shields. Selections are made by command icons, but laser and gun attacks can be made with a single button press. Abnormal statuses. There are certain enemies that can use special attacks to create abnormal conditions in your dragon's status. On the radar, the red area indicates not only a high risk of great physical damage, but the potential of a special attack. The dragon was hit with a special attack that paralyzed it. The status of your dragon is displayed here in the status display area. That would be in the bottom right, above the gauges. When your dragon is paralyzed, it cannot fire lasers or use its Berserk techniques. Your dragon can only reposition itself. Be aware that only the dragon's status is affected. Using items and the gun are Edge's actions, so these can be performed regardless of the status. So we can use Revive to get rid of that status here again. And preferably move the hell out of the way. Statuses eventually return to normal over time, but you may use an item to restore status sooner. Here are the abnormal conditions other than stun. Poison, which continuously affects your HP. Slow, gauge charges slowly. Stop, the dragon cannot move. Pain, defense power decreases. And bind, only the first gauge charges. That one sucks. I remember that one now. I'd forgotten about that. Berserk classes. There are 6 total Berserk classes. 4 are earned through experience, and the remaining 2 are hidden. I don't remember how to get them. Attack class affects all enemies, delivering heavy damage to enemies nearby, but little damage to distant enemies. These spells are obtained by reaching a predetermined level. Spiritual class affects all enemies, inflicting full damage regardless of distance. These spells cause the same amount of damage to all attacking enemies. Very effective against groups. These spells are obtained simply by reaching a predetermined level. Defense class regains HP and casts shield spells. Healing spells can be cast with only 1 gauge full. These spells are also obtained by reaching a predetermined level. And the agility class, which affects multiple enemies and retreats from battles. Delivers the same number of attacks regardless of the number of enemies. Effective against smaller groups, these spells are obtained by reaching a predetermined level. And then there's also full gauge and extra class. Attacks in combination. An enemy's gauge can fill while you are moving your dragon. In this scenario, the enemy will attack you as soon as you finish moving. If you press a button while positioning your dragon, the action will initiate before your enemies attack. This is called beating them to the punch. You can do this while an enemy or player is moving or attacking. When the gauges are full, if you want to perform attacks in combinations, initiate any action and immediately press a button to perform another action. Learn this technique well and you will not only defeat enemies quickly, but will also prevent them from attacking. And the evaluation. We do get graded on each level. When you win a battle, you will receive one of 5 rankings. I'm sorry. Too many tutorials, 0 out of 10 for my GM. Thank you, Chava. The higher your rank, the more experience points you'll receive. Your ranking is based on how fast you defeat your enemies and how little damage you take. Here are the rankings. Excellent, highest rank, full experience points, and you may also find an item. Great fight, second highest rank, good experience points, can still find an item. Good fight, average experience points. Close call, only a minimal amount of experience points. Narrow escape, minimal amount of experience points. Are we done? We're done with tutorials! Let's fight! Yo, there's something behind us, yo! Nice of them to hide an item just directly behind us.